I'm going to speak on this thing that happened last night because I think it's important for us. We got to start chronicling some of these lessons. So I'm going to speak on this piece that happened last night because last week I was talking about our need to get an analysis. And I'm seeing everybody is putting little pieces in at a time. And I'm going to try to put the little pieces that I have in at a time so that we can keep figuring out how to build an analysis. So yesterday night, I had, been out working, doing a lot of the same work that a lot of us are out there doing, trying to help people, trying to be a part of. Some of us make the economy go around. Some of us do all kinds of different work. So we all just trying to find a way to get about doing our life, take care of our families, the people that we love, and hang out. And I'm over in Richmond, California, which is outside of Oakland, San Francisco area. And so, here's the crazy part. I wasn't even supposed to be there last night. I was supposed to be going to about 100 miles away from the Bay Area with my brother because we were going to be training some clergy and trying to get them thinking about the resistance and the necessary moment that we're in. So I wasn't even supposed to be in Richmond, California. I just happened to be in Richmond, California. So here I am. I come pulling up to the office where we were meeting with community members. The reason I didn't go train clergy is because we had about 20 or so Latino sisters and brothers who were terrified because of this whole post-Trump reality. People have been talking about, that maybe they need to leave, maybe they need to hide. They're afraid that because they've registered with the government around licenses and all these other types of registries, that now somehow their family's not going to be safe. So I was like, you know what? I need to not go to what it is that I was going to and try to make some margin to try to hang out with some of our Latino sisters and brothers so we can try to figure out, how do we build the kind of solidarity with them that's necessary so they're not feeling at risk, so they're not being afraid. And we need to let them know that, as they black sisters and brothers, we gonna rock with them and we gonna stand with them. And they ain't getting you unless they get me. And we gonna fight together. So in any case, I'm pulling up to the office. I get out and there is a black sister who is out there sitting on the sidewalk. So I come walking up and come to find out that we have a white police officer who pulls over a black sister in her car because she's got expired tags, right? So he pulls her over in the vehicle, and instead of writing her a ticket, which he has a discretion to do, instead of writing her a ticket, he makes a decision that he is going to pull her out of the vehicle, although she had no criminal record on her license, although there was no crime associated with the vehicle. He pulls this woman out of her vehicle, forces her to sit on the sidewalk when it's obvious she has a physical ailment, who has recently had a stroke. And he forces this woman to sit on the sidewalk at night in the public, in her neighborhood where she's being embarrassed and treated like a criminal. He searches her vehicle. This is all before I get there. When I get there, she's sitting on the sidewalk and starting to cry already, and he's finishing searching her vehicle. Doesn't find anything in the vehicle, obviously, so then he decides to tow her vehicle. She's out there weeping and crying, begging the officer to not tow her vehicle. She's disabled. She's the only person working in her family, trying to take care of a sick mother, of a brother who also has some illness and some small children. And this officer decides to not use discretion, but rather to tow her vehicle, right? So I come walking up, And the officer is out there with this little smug look on his face. And this is what pissed me off about it, because this happens all the time. There ain't nothing special that happened about the dynamic that I just saw yesterday. This happens all the time to poor people, and particularly people of color. And people are always telling us that somehow we making this up. Right? That this kind of stuff is not happening to us on a regular basis. Many of us have not paid our registration at a certain given time and have been pulled over when you have the respectable look around you, when you've got some resources, when you are not black, and you get a ticket. You don't get your vehicle towed. That's not what happens to you. She gets her vehicle towed, right? And then the thing that pisses me off is we come out there, and he's sitting there with this smug look on his face. She is crying and weeping, begging the man not to take her vehicle. So we come up, and so I start giving it to the brother. And this is one of the things I want to talk about as a part of the analysis, right? We've got to stop driving past one another when our loved ones and our community members are in peril, right? Martin Luther King talked about years ago, talking about the Good Samaritan, right? That the wrong question is what will happen to me if I stop and take care of the person who's struggling and the person that's in danger. He says the right question is what will happen to them if I do not? And we got to start asking the question, what's going to happen to people if we do not stop and find ways to offer some support and some help to people? He was going to leave this woman sitting out at night, disabled. She had a stroke, walking with the limp, and he wants to take her vehicle. Now, here's the killer. This the killer, right? He was a field training officer, the Richmond Police Department. I'm going to get a phone number because I think we should blow up the Richmond Police Department's number today. He was a field training officer and was using this woman as an example of trying to train the young man who had just got out of the academy. And instead of training him to use compassion and empathy and discretion, he was training him how to be a butthole. He was training him how to be inhumane. He was training him how to have a cold reality to the pain of what was happening to this woman. So as I started giving it to him, right, there's a couple pieces I want to touch on, and then I'm done. When I started giving it to him, right, he couldn't take it because I started telling him, you're inhumane. You're a tool of fascism. You're a tool of oppression. And he couldn't take it. We was out there for 30, 45 minutes out there giving it to him. And we got to start giving it to these people because we still do have the right to free speech. We still do have the right to be able to talk about this system, to call it wicked because it is wicked. So as I'm giving it to him, the young other white brother who was the trainee, the one that was from the police academy, he was standing out there and he started getting emotional. His face started tensing up. So then the older white officer walks away, and then the young trainee comes walking up to us and he says, I'm sorry. I don't think this is right. This shouldn't happen. He asked the woman, can I call you Uber from my phone, trying to sneak and call the woman an Uber from his phone because he's feeling bad about the situation. Then the older officer comes back over, whistles at him, tells him, come back over here. And this is the problem when we talk about policing. Here you had this young white brother who told me, I'm from Richmond. I became a police officer because I want to help the community, but he's being trained by tenured officers who are operating out of racism, who are operating out of bias, who are forcing the younger officers to have to replicate their same kind of unconstitutional, illegal, fascist behavior. And this is the problem that we have. Right? So the young brother comes over and I kept giving it to the officer till at a certain point, the young man left the officer again and came and stood with us for the remainder of the time. And this is why I'm telling folks, we got to get in these streets. This is why we got to protest. This is why when we see people pulled over by law enforcement, we must pull over and check on our communities and check on our loved ones and see what is it that we can do to help. Because we got people riding around in our communities who are racist, people driving around in our communities who have no empathy and no compassion, and they operate with this kind of way of being that tries to make the community be deferential. This is the other piece I want to touch on. So as I'm out there, another black brother comes walking up, and he was like, hey, excuse me, bruh. Can I ask you something, though? Can I ask you something when I'm trying to talk to the police about what's happening to this young sister? So when I get finished with him, I look over, I'm like, what's up, bruh? He's like, well, I'm just trying to figure out, though, like, do you give this same kind of heat to the black police officers because you're giving it to the white police officers, and you saying they are part of a racist system, and you giving it to white police officers officers, but we don't never give it to the black police officers. And I told this brother, I said, man, what you talking about? I said, man, we give it to the black police officers when they deserve it just as much as the white police officers or Latino police officers or Asian American police officers, men and women. It don't matter. If you're going to be complicit with an unjust system that is oppressing the weak, the poor, the marginalized, then you deserve to get the critique. But here's one of the things that was interesting when I was seeing with this brother, because I love him as well, and I had to really pay attention to this. He tried to start defending the police officer, even though he just rolled up on a bike and his first way of being was to try to defend the police officer. So I started telling him, I said, listen, black man, I said, why are you defending a police officer? I said, why are you asking questions of me as another black man around what it is that I'm doing with respect to police officers instead of asking questions about what the police officers are doing with respect to the people in your community? Why do you by default become deferential in the presence of law enforcement instead of finding your agency and stand up with some dignity, stand up with some power, stand up with some courage? And the more I started talking to him, his orientation started changing. He was like, you right. Then he was like, oh man, I think I recognize you. Ain't you the brother that be Facebooking and or protests and stuff like that? I think I recognize you. I was like, bro, it's not even all about that. You a black man. You from this community. You don't got to be deferential when the police come around. I said, they a human being just like you, and a lot of them are abandoning their humanity because they lack the moral courage to do what is right. They care more about their money. They care more about their career. They care more about their own self-interest, and he's standing here with 5 weapons on his belt, and all you got is your bike and your voice. Stand up. And this is a part of the analysis that I want to offer. We got to start standing up. We got to start standing up, man. We got sisters out here, and this is not no sexism piece to say women are weaker than men, but I was taught with a responsibility, right? I got sisters. I got 2 sisters. I was taught, man, don't let nothing happen to your sister. Man, what kind of person are you? Are you going to stand by and let a sister who is disabled, and she tells the officer, she says, I mailed my registration in. We've been waiting a long time because I'm struggling. I'm the only one working, and I got to drive 30 miles to take care of people during the day. She told me when I gave her a ride home, she said, man, the thing that sucks is, she said, I take care of white children all day. That's what my job is, to take care of white children. 99% of my time every day, this is what the sister says, is taking care of young white children, trying to nurture them and benefit them. She says, and here I am coming home trying to go to the grocery store for my mother. So I give her a ride home, and she was like, my mom want to talk to you. I come in the house. The mother is an amputee sitting in a wheelchair. And they standing in the house crying because now they have no means of transportation, no means to go buy food, no means to get to work, no means to be able to earn any money, because this police officer, this white police officer, decided he would use this poor black woman's pain and poverty as an example for a training exercise. This is what we got to deal with. So when people wonder why we be so pissed off, when you wonder, like, man, why are they all so turned up? Man, they just want attention. Man, nobody doing this because nobody want no attention. Man, we want to go about our regular life. But we being terrorized in our communities. And then we told to just accept it. I just got to accept it. I just got to accept that you terrorizing my sister in the community because you got a badge, because you got a patch on your arm, and I got to accept it. No, I do not accept it. We don't accept it. We don't accept it. And all of us out here, this is a part of my analysis today. We got to love and support each other. We talk about that. It's our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. Since the side is secure, we must love and protect each other, love and support each other. We got nothing to lose with our chains. Man, we going to have to start pulling off the road. When you see another sister or brother that's pulled over by the police, we got to start pulling off the road and checking on them. Are you all right? What's happening with you? Is it going to inconvenience us? Absolutely. But we going to have to figure out, like, if we don't do this for each other, who going to do it for us? Who going to do it for us? So I just want to send word out to the Richmond Police Department of California, Chief Alwyn Brown, who says that he's a police chief for building relationship with the community. You could have called them dogs off last night, and you chose not to. And we put calls into his office and other people's office to release the car of this young disabled woman in the community. And y'all chose not to. because you all lack the moral courage to do what is right. And if it was a white community, and if it was a white mother who was trying to buy groceries for her white children, she would have received a citation and went home. I know a white brother who hadn't paid his tax in 3 to 4 years. And he was let go with a citation. But y'all gonna take this disabled black woman with a stroke, with a mother who's an amputee in a wheelchair, sitting at home in a poor, broken down place where they're trying to live and survive, and take advantage of her. And then tax her with these tow charges. So we don't get that car out today. We don't get that car out today. But I'm telling y'all, I know this might feel like a reductionist strategy. It's like, man, Ben, why you all turned up just about somebody getting their vehicle towed? Because it's not just about the vehicle. It's about what we're dealing with. The lack of compassion, the lack of empathy, the injustice of it. We got to start letting ourselves get mad. And I told that officer last night, I said, see, this is Trump's America. Trump to me, it ain't about, Trump is not a dude, man. Trump, we finally got a name for the demon. See, in the scriptures, you know, they used to give the demons names. And we got a name for the demon of white supremacy in America. And the name is Trump. That's why these white folks, you've been seeing all this racist stuff they've been doing in the cafes, in the schools. They egged a poor Asian sister who was walking her dogs here in Oakland, and they scream out after they do their violence, Trump, Trump. That's the demon inside of them. That demon has a name now. So we got to love and support each other. We need to inconvenience one another. And I'm hoping that all of us today will think about, when you see a sister or brother that's pulled over on the side of the road, we got to pull over. We got to check on one another. We got to inconvenience one another, because it's these little, what feel like small expressions of justice when nobody's around. This is what we're going to have to do for each other. Love and protect each other. Revolutionary love with each other. It's not just about the mass protests. It's about the late night pull over, put yourself at some risk for another sister or brother who is scared and afraid. It's time for us to bring the unity together of all the oppressed people who is struggling. Come on, y'all. We got to do this. We got to do this. Who else gonna do it if we don't do it? So, I'm just saying, it's time for us. I was so pissed off when I got home. I told my wife, I said, man, they cowards. They cowards. And you a grown man standing here with weapons on your arm, and you're going to do this to this lady. You're going to make her sit on the ground like an animal when she's disabled. You a coward. You a coward. And you couldn't even stand toe-to-toe with me when I was going at him. Face all started pulsating. Looked like he wanted to do something. I told him, I said, man, I'm not going to become deferential in front of y'all. Who is you? I got to become deferential in front of you. We pay your salary. So we got to rise up, people. Stop living in this space. This is the last thing I'm going to say, and I'm out. We need to think about the Holocaust. There's a lesson there. The Germans did not believe that what Hitler was saying about the Jews would ever happen. They said, that's bizarre. That kind of stuff ain't never going to happen. Not in our society. None of that stuff is going to happen. So they sat in their cafes and drank their tea and ate their little crumpets and their muffins. Because ain't that kind of stuff ain't going to happen, because this is Germany. That kind of stuff ain't going to happen. We're not worried about that kind of stuff. It's going to happen unless you pay some attention and you stop it. Let me ask you this question. What happens at a deportation center? You don't know. When's the last time you've been to a deportation center? You haven't. So you don't know what they doing to our Latino sisters and brothers up in there. They could be raping them, and they are. They could be abusing them, and they are. They could be starving them, and they are. And we are still going about our daily life like nothing is happening. So don't say you better than the Germans. If we're going to be better than the Germans with what they did and did not do with respect to the Jews, then let's prove it. If we better than that, then when you see a black or a brown sister or brother a Muslim sister or brother, an Asian American sister or brother, a native sister or brother pulled over on the side of the road, then that means you stop. That means you take a risk. You take the power on. And we might all die. We might all go down. But man, let's go down together then. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. Since Obama got elected, you got more guns in America now than human beings. In the last 8 years, incredible spike of weapons purchases in the United States of America. And the majority of those weapons are being bought by white men and militias. So you do the math. You think that's about folks wanting to buy some rabbits and shoot some squirrels? You'll be that naive if you want to. We better stand up. You better stand up. And we need to challenge these systems to choose what side they're going to be on. So Richmond Police Department of California, you are on notice as to what side you're going to be on. Chief Alwyn Brown, you are on notice for what side you're going to be on. Because your department and your officers will not terrorize the people of Richmond. I've been working in Richmond for the last 4 or 5 months, just supporting. I've been trying to stay in the background. And even right now, I'm not trying to take away any of the attention from the people who've been leading a lot of the work in Richmond. Tamisha Walker, Devon Bogan, all these other folks that have been doing powerful work. This is not about usurping none of the work that they've been doing. Brother Sam, they all been doing this work. So I've been trying to stay in the background and just support the people who've already been doing the work for a while. But it's time for all of us to stand up. So Richmond Police Department, you on notice. Chief Alwyn Brown, you on notice. You deal with your shock troops. Or we gonna, I'm gonna keep saying it. Through the power of nonviolent direct action, we will pull down your department brick by brick, just the same way we said to the Oakland Police Department, through the power of nonviolent direct action, we'll pull down your system brick by brick. But we're not going to be deferential. And you're not going to steal our spirit, and you're not going to abuse our people, and you're not going to terrorize our neighborhood. And it's the last thing I promise, and I'm out. This is why it's so important. When I started turning up against the cop, there was little black boys in the top of the housing units over the street. And the little boy, I started yelling at the cop, "Shame on you, shame on you." And the little boys start going, "Shame on you, shame on you." When we show love and support for one another, we teach the next generation that they don't have to live as enslaved people. That they don't have to live as oppressed people. That God made them free. And we need to teach them how to be free. I love y'all. It's a part of the analysis. We got to keep building the analysis. I'm learning from your analysis. I'll be blessed if I can offer a little bit of the analysis. Let's try to get analysis together. It's Friday. Love each other today. Man, let's try to stop the forces of oppression from destroying us today, because we better than that. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love and support each other. We don't have nothing to lose but our chains. Love y'all.